In the second short assignment, I'll be discussing both topics on utilitarianism and the vegetarian video. As my thesis statement, I'll be explaining to you why I believe, from a utilitarianism perspective, you should not become a vegetarian because it goes against the greater majority. As a citation, according to the Vegetarian Times, the Vegetarianism in America study showed that only 3.2% of U.S. adults, or 7.3 million people, follow a vegetarian-based diet. In the You're Not Special video, we found out that there are 7.4 billion people in the world, and that is a large number. Citing the professor's video on utilitarianism, he quotes that utilitarianism is designed to create the best possible consequences. So, the greater possible consequence would be the best possible outcome that pleasures the majority. Let's say you're trying to please the majority of the people because you're more worried about the big impact, who you're trying to impact. You have these 7.4 billion people that live in the world, and only 7.3 million people of that 7.4 billion are vegetarian. It is clear to say that the majority prefers meat. Suppose you were to take away that 7.4, it would be going against the majority. As you can tell, the small amount of people that don't eat meat and the amount of people in this world that do eat meat is a clear majority of people that prefer the meat. You can't go against the majority because you're creating a lesser consequence. So as an objection to my thesis, some people will argue that you have to take into consideration how the animals feel. In the Steve-O video, which I'm using as my third quote, said that these animals feel pleasure and pain. Like when he says, "I want to welcome you to Nikki, a pig who was washed away from a farm in Iowa due to a flood. Nikki has dreams at night and has feelings of pain and pleasure." In the video, you can see this based off of how the pigs squirm when they get their throats slit open by the butchers. It is terrible to see with the blood coming out of everywhere. One could argue that no one is taking into consideration the majority of animals' feelings and not taking into consideration how they feel. They are being killed and tortured, but no one is asking how they are feeling. No one is taking into consideration how the animals feel, so that why they are a majority as well. There's so many animals out there that are being killed, and no one's taking into consideration how they feel. So that could be a potential objection. As my rebuttal to that objection presented, is that it doesn't have to be so cutthroat and torturous on how they kill these animals. In an article by Chicago Tribune, as my fourth citation, PETA has praised Purdue's meat company on how they are now treating animals and how they are handling the killing process. Purdue is now using a carbon dioxide gas which kills them. This avoids them being hung upside down and avoids them suffocating themselves, getting their throats slit, and breaking their bones. These animals are now being exposed to more sunlight by becoming free range and natural, rather than being stuck inside these cages where they're just walking around their own poop and pee. A lot of these companies are incorporating the carbon dioxide method to prevent the suffering of the animals and the pain that they feel. So I mean, at the end of the day, the majority of the world eats meat, so they are going to please the majority of the world. However, there's a lot better ways going about how they treat the animals that they're eating. They don't have to be so cutthroat and kill them right away. They can let them grow and develop and live a life, which is what they're doing. And these laws are being taken in place, and these companies are just having a more ethical standpoint of how they're doing it, like Purdue. A lot of these meat processing companies have hundreds and thousands of people making a living off of what they do. By having everyone become a vegetarian, it will cause an imbalance of these workers, and it will affect society. These people are providing meats for over 7 billion people, and if you take that away, it is a huge loss of revenue and opportunity in this society. Next time you go into your local ShopRite on a weekend, look at the meat section and see how many people are there. The line is never ending. You can't just cut meat out of people's lives because it would create a worse consequence and is going against the majority of people's feelings. These meat companies are pleasing the majority of people by providing them with the meats. Steve-O is trying to encourage people to go the vegetarian route because he wants people to know that a lot of these food companies, what they're doing is terrible. However, this video was filmed years ago, and now in an article that I have read recently, like the Chicago Tribune one, it's showing that these companies are actively aware of how they've been handling them, and they're making these animals treated better. As a result, to wrap up this assignment, After citing multiple citations from class materials, I'm going to back up my thesis statement by disagreeing that people should become vegetarian. I agree that I feel that it goes against the majority and it's not pleasuring and causing the best possible consequence and outcome for these meat eaters. Thank you for taking the time to read this, or thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and I appreciate it. Thank you.